Welcome to Own Your Impact, the This Is On Me podcast. Most people want impact in business, in relationships, in leadership, in life. We all want our existence to matter. So we build skills, careers, identities. And sometimes the results look successful, but eventually something begins to surface, a disconnect, because many people are producing results in tasks, but not in themselves. That is the purpose of this podcast. It is not motivational content, it is diagnostic. Own Your Impact examines the internal structure that produces external results, because results are not random. Patterns reveal structure, pressure reveals structure, relationships reveal structure. And what repeatedly happens in your life is trying to tell you something. Most people blame the environment. They blame other people, their past, their circumstances. But recurring outcomes usually point somewhere deeper, to the architecture of self, your assumptions, your reactions, your patterns, your discipline. This podcast is about ownership, not guilt, ownership, because ownership creates the possibility of change. Impact is not intention, impact is results, and results are traceable. This is Own Your Impact. Let's begin. Episode 1, The Law of Results. Own Your Impact is about change. It is about internal change. It is about the change of the mind, which leads to the change of actions. The question is, how do we get deep inside ourselves? What message or what messenger can be sent so you can get deep inside of yourself to cause change? The change we are talking about in this episode is producing an internal foundation so you can see results externally, so your structure rests on a solid base. Retail establishments over the years have created a greeting process, and when I owned my own business, people would come into the pharmacy. I would expect my employees to greet them. Unfortunately, this did not happen according to plan, and sometimes I would get frustrated. So the voice in my head began to help me understand how to change myself in order to produce a different result. That result was simple. It was me setting the example and greeting the customers as they approached the waiting counter myself. I had to change my results. That led to my employees seeing my example and reproducing the example. Results accumulate. Results expose structure or lack of structure. Results do not lie. So where is the glitch? The glitch exists in intention. We validate ourselves based on our intention to change, based on our intention to do something correctly, based on our intention to produce results. But intention only goes so far. Intention cannot produce results. Relying on intention gets us into a loop because we begin to defend intention, and defending intention causes us to go round and round and round and only ending up in the same place where we began. The world measures impact. Business measures impact. Politics measures impact. Religion measures impact. Relationship measure impact. Culture measures impact. We are not mind readers, and relying on intention is asking people to read your mind. We're not perfect, and we miss the mark, so we always have the ability to forgive others when they miss the mark. But we're still not mind readers, and failure of results causes frustration at times. The process I'm referring to ultimately becomes internal structure, and structure repeats itself. This is why we cannot get out of our own way, and we cycle through bad results. It is important to think about what we think about. It is important to think about why we think about something. It is important to think about how we evaluate, because this gives us a clue into our inner sanctum, into our inner self. Until we arrive at that place, change does not happen. You cannot produce lasting change simply by implementation. That is why this program is different. You can only produce lasting change by impactful results, by realization, and realization happens in the mind. So if something breaks down, Are you the blamer or the shoulderer? Both conclusions under the heading of implementation will take you to the wrong solution. Realization is about revealing and exposing the structure and the framework that exists within yourself. This is why my employees began to greet people, but they also are responsible for realizing that themselves. The change that was necessary, that I was looking for, was occurring internally in myself. And this is not to say that in our lives we do not have success at times in many areas, because we do. The challenge for most of us is repeating that success. It isn't always so easy. And once bad results occurs, it exposes what's within us, what is underneath. The next part of the process internally has to happen once we recognize. Then we are considering taking ownership over the process. Ownership over our words, ownership over our actions, ownership over our life. Ownership becomes your power play, because what you own, you can change. Ownership does not begin with blame. It does not begin with self-loathing. It does not begin with the pity party. Ownership begins with examination. Examination can reveal who you are and can cause you to ask yourself the question, how can I change? How can I not be about implementation, but about realization? Results don't lie. The law of results is real, and the quicker you begin to apply it for yourself, the quicker you will make changes that have slipped through your fingers in the past. The application of this episode is universal. It can work in a marriage, a family, a workplace, any relationship, any workplace scenario, corporate interactions, the political, social, cultural, and religious exchanges we are involved in every day. Own your impact. Results are always speaking. The question is whether you are listening. Most people spend their lives explaining outcomes instead of examining them. Explaining frustration, explaining conflict, explaining inconsistency. But patterns do not lie. What repeats is revealing structure. The way you think, the way you react, the way you interpret pressure, people, and responsibility. Change does not begin with effort, it begins with recognition. Recognition of what is actually producing your results. Because ownership is not punishment, it is access. Access to correction, access to growth, access to stability. The environment will not complete you. Titles will not complete you. Achievement alone will not complete you. Internal structure matters, and structural solutions without internal change produce temporary results. Examine the pattern, govern yourself, own the outcome. This is Own Your Impact. If you'd like more information, visit our website, ownyourimpacthq.com. If you'd like to contact me, use the email on the website. I'm available for seminars, speaking engagements, trainings, and more.